Hey everybody, today I'm going to be making a wood and resin sphere for the very first time. I decided to use Alumilite Resin for this project since it's on the smaller side and it'll fit in my pressure pot. I started by combining equal parts of the two halves of resin and mixing them together. I added a good bit of blue dye with a little green added to it to get an oceany color, and then added some glitter to add some depth. I secured a block of maple burl wood in the mold and then added the resin. Then I put it in a pressure pot for a few hours to eliminate any air bubbles. Later that evening, I took it out of the pot in my pajamas. The next day, I took the hardened blank out of the mold and cleaned it up a little bit on the belt sander, which I did off camera. I used CA glue to join the blank to a scrap piece of wood, and then used a woodworm screw to hold it in my chuck. I started with a roughing gouge and a square carbide tool to round the blank down to a cylinder shape. Then I switched to a bowl gouge to start making the sphere shape. I took a second to establish where I want the sphere to begin and end with calipers, as well as mark a center line that I'll need soon. I mounted my Carter sphere jig to the lathe and used the center line that I marked to align it. I tried to take shallow passes across the face of the sphere and slowly advance the cutting edge until the entire outside face is rounded. Then I removed the tailstock and rounded off the tail end of the sphere. Next, I worked on rounding the other end of the sphere, but I left a little too much wood when I was doing the rough cutting, so I went ahead and just sawed it off. I mounted the sphere between two cup-shaped centers to hold it while I turned the nubbins off. I marked the finished parts of the sphere with a marker so that I wouldn't cut too deep. Once I had removed the nubbins, I sanded the sphere with an 80 grit sanding disc on a drill and periodically rotated it to ensure that the whole surface was sanded evenly. I repeated this with 150 and 220 grits, and then switched to wet sandpaper. I sanded up to 1200 grit and then dried the sphere off. I used Tripoli polish on a paper towel before switching to my buffing wheels. And there you have it, a perfect wood and resin sphere. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you'd like to see next.